Hi, my name's Joe Clark. I am a secondary school teacher. I'm actually in management in a secondary school. My day begins at 6 in the morning. I go up at 6 o'clock. First thing I do is go in and get showered and cleaned up. I don't eat breakfast at home. I like to get to my work and get into my office and see what's happening. When I get to the office, I usually make myself a cup of tea and I have a sandwich, and then I look at my computer to find out what's expected of the day. I will have a timetable of lessons that I have to teach because I still teach as well as being in management. And I have to work out what I've got as free time to work in administration issues and then what's going to involve teaching. Usually in the morning I have some emails to answer, maybe from parents or from companies or from other members of staff, things that I have to look after. There might be something involving students or involving members of staff, maybe who are off sick and you have to cover them, or maybe they have to be advised on particular issues. As the day progresses, in the morning I might teach a couple of lessons. I teach age 11 through to age 18, and I teach religious education. Religious education is taught in the British curriculum as an academic subject. So we cover the 6 major religions and we cover humanism and atheism as well. The younger group, when you teach them, basically their lessons are more about self-discovery. The older group, the sort of a 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they focus more on moral issues and how religions respond to them and how they would respond to them as well. When lunchtime comes along, I am usually one of the people who gets a lot of envious comments because I like to do a lot of cooking, and I usually bring leftovers with me. And I have my lunch, and people often pass comment and say they would like what I'm having for my lunch. Lunch goes through quite quickly. You don't take a lot of time on your lunch because you're usually busy. After lunch we usually have a quick meeting with the management to just see everything's going okay during the day. And then again you'll be teaching again. My teaching load isn't that heavy obviously because I'm in management, and I usually finish the day in my office dealing with different issues, whether they be curriculum issues or whether they be discipline issues or pastoral issues with students. The school itself has about 500 kids in it, so it's not too big, but it can be quite demanding as it's a private school and parents pay quite a bit of money. The school day finishes at 3:15 for the students, but I'm usually in my office till about 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock I get the tram home, and when I get home, basically I live with my wife. Both of my daughters are at university and they are not with us. I do all the cooking. My wife doesn't do any cooking, so I do all the cooking. So I like to stand and prepare the meal, and then we have our meal together and chat about our day and talk about what's happened. She's actually a teacher in the early years part of the school, so she deals with kids at ages 3 and 4. So we talk about that, and we obviously have the workplace in common as a whole. After we've had dinner, I bought my wife a brilliant invention, an iPad and earphones, so I don't really have to speak to her too much when she's in the house because she focuses on watching all her programs on her iPad. I am a bit of a person who I like watching sport, and if there's sport on, I'll watch that, or I like watching TV series, but I tend to binge on them, and that's not a good thing to do. Sometimes I have to do some work at home. I might have some marking and things like that, but most of the times it's not so bad. I do it all at work, and I can able to relax a wee bit at night. Sometimes we'll go out for a drink because it's easier sometimes just to relax and get a drink before we go to bed. And it's really quite mundane that way. I am very disciplined about the time I go to my bed. I go to my bed at 10 o'clock every night, and I like to get 8 hours sleep in. I don't like to miss it because if I lose my temper because I'm tired, I'd end up battering a student, and I don't want to do that.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm 24, and this is a typical day for me. I usually get up about 10:30 in the morning because I don't tend to work till later. What I tend to do is I make myself a smoothie for breakfast, and I'm just kind of trying to stay healthy a wee bit more, which isn't always the case. And because there's so much time in between, I tend to either watch something on Netflix, so I'm watching The Staircase just now, but I'm in between that and RuPaul's Drag Race, which is always good. It always cheers you up, like sassy drag queens. What doesn't cheer you up about that? I don't really tend to play video games before I go to work because I'm like a really devoted gamer and I don't like having that like time wasted sort of thing. So I tend to do set up my mirror by the window so I can get some natural light in, pop on Staircase, do my makeup, and I need to go and try and get the bus for 1:15 because I'm working at 2. My shop doesn't close till 6. It's one of the latest kind of closing shops in the high street. So when I'm heading up to work, if I'm being a wee bit cheeky, sometimes I'll get a double cheeseburger from McDonald's, but hopefully that doesn't happen anymore because I'm trying to stay healthy. When I get to work, well actually, I work as a supervisor in a health and beauty shop on the high street. We're doing a lot better since one of our competitors closed. So when I get there, I tend to be the one closing up, so I have to go in and check like emails and make sure everybody's like hit their targets before we start working, and really figure out what needs to be done before the facing up needs to get started. Facing up, I mean like you know, making sure that the shop's like neat and tidy before working the next again day. So that could be anything. That could be like finishing delivery or doing tag requests or making sure like the fridge and the stacks are filled, and occasionally it just means me taking off 2 tills so we can get out as early as we can. I'm responsible for the shop after the managers go, so I have to you know, take off tills, do safe checks, and just all the kind of paperwork and stuff for closing up. So we try and get out for about 6:15, but sometimes it doesn't always happen if there's like money problems and stuff. And then I try and get the 6:21 bus, but it doesn't always happen, so I end up in Asda, I end up spending about £20 where £20 didn't need to be spent. And I usually get home for about 7. I'll either come home and get my dinner straight away, or I kind of like sit in with my mum and stuff, just watching Emmerdale, and hopefully she's made my dinner by this point, or if not, I have to make like student food, which isn't good. I also have to, so after that, and I've sat with my mum for a wee bit so she knows I still love her, I tend to go and play Xbox. I play like Sea of Thieves and Fortnite at the moment if I'm being social. If I'm not being social, I've just like completed the ABC Murders game, which is really good. It's a really good thriller. But that's what I tend to do on my downtime, and I try and get to bed about 11, half 11, but it doesn't always happen because gaming sessions can, you know, get a bit intense, so by the time you know it's about like 1:30. But yeah, that's a normal day in the life of Amy.
Hi, I'm Alan, I'm 20 years old. I'm a student, so I guess, yeah, I kind of get up pretty late most days, either 10, 11, but sometimes when I have to, I need to get up like 7, sometimes 8. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of routine for day-to-day stuff, but over the week I'd say I need to go to college 3 days. So, like say going to college, I just had to get up, sometimes shave, try to make myself look presentable. Breakfast is just fairly basic, just Weetabix. Sometimes I add raisins or honey just to make it a little bit more appetizing. But after that, I guess I just head out the door. I usually arrive late, but sometimes, if I'm lucky, I arrive early. And it's just there at college, I hang out with friends, we do practical work together, filming little sequences and just trying out little, what's the word? Just trying different things of like how to do. Wait, no, what's that word when you have to like? I can't think of it. Try just different aspects of filmmaking and television, and we just like practice using camera, practice editing. We do studio work, some theoretical stuff like learning about copyright laws, but yeah, and so, like we get lunch, and for the most part, we usually like bring our own stuff, but a lot of the times we get pretty lazy and just buy stuff from McDonald's or Burger King. And then afterwards we just continue doing whatever it is we're doing for that day, and then afterwards we finish at 4. We either just like go around the shops hanging out, or we go to the cinema sometimes. And then I guess afterwards come home, either cook another basic meal like pasta, or just put in a pizza in the oven because they're easy and cheap depending on whether you could find them. Yeah, and then just throughout the entire night, I guess just be on the internet, just continuing to talk to friends over Facebook, or just watching YouTube. Procrastinating an awful lot, which is a bit of a problem. But yes, once I get around to it, we do essays or work on stuff that we're supposed to be doing, or just other stuff that we do in our own free time. Like trying to make projects and then asking friends, hey, I need help with this project, and then we like to make stuff together sometimes. And other days when I don't have college, I work at McDonald's. I usually like work in the kitchen for the most part, so it's just making, like cooking chicken batch or just assembling the sandwiches themselves. And just other stocking stuff up, and just it's fairly standard stuff working there. Shifts usually go on for 6 or 8 hours, and it's pretty rewarding like once it's finished, because then I could just come home once again and just relax and chill and do whatever it is I do. And it's just, most shifts are usually from the afternoon and evening. Like every month I have to do like 1 or 2 night shifts, which is a lot harder since you usually sleep at night, but it's a lot more rewarding like once you finish the shift. And then yeah, I have to sleep all the way through the morning, I guess. But yeah, it's like that. There's not like a whole consistent routine that I do. It's just I do stuff when I have to.
Hi, I'm John. I'm aged 51, and I obviously want to kind of tell you all about my daily routine. Now, my daily routine starts at 5:30 in the morning when my trusty alarm goes off, and at that point I'll normally kind of try and bring myself awake in the next couple of minutes before I'll venture downstairs. I'll take my nutritionals, which will help me get me through the day. I'll then settle down to a nice bowl of cereal, Radio Clyde on in the background, and obviously read yesterday's paper just to kind of catch up on the news that I've obviously missed. We've been at work. I'll then go and get washed, get ready, and then we'll set off for work, myself and my wife. Fortunately, we just live 5 minutes away in the car from our office, so we'll normally leave here around about 10 to 7 to try and get into the office for 7 o'clock. I work in project management. It's obviously a lot kind of clerical based, but we've got a lot of kind of interactions with stakeholders. That's what our job mainly involves. And the interaction can be through face-to-face meetings, telecons, emails, and primarily emails plays a big part in my day-to-day work environment. So going in the morning, it's trying to kind of play catch up from the previous day. Has anything happened later on, to try and see where we are with particular projects. Working a small team, there's about 4 of us in our team, but we're a small team that's actually part of a larger team overall within the office I work in. So you're meeting a kind of a wide range of people every single day, not just in our team, but obviously kind of other stakeholders as well in the projects that we deal with. Lunch, I normally take about an hour for lunch. Normally have a salad or kind of salad wraps for lunch, and I try and take about an hour for lunch because it's always good, I think, to get away from that kind of work ethic during the day. So taking an hour out is good, which I'll try to do with a friend that I've worked with for years in the office. So always try and meet him at about 12:30, between 12:30 and 1:30. The afternoon, again, it's pretty much the same as what's been done in the morning. There's the meetings, telecons, etc., emails to be replied to. So that's just the kind of daily kind of routine within work. When it comes to finishing up time, I've got flexible working hours, so ideally I try and work around about 4 o'clock, finish. Obviously in the morning, my wife and I, we go to work in the car, but coming back home, I like to walk it back home, weather permitting. So it's a nice 20-minute walk back home, which obviously kind of helps to kind of clear the head. If I'm in early enough, in front of my wife, as long as there's been no meetings that's held me back, etc., it's always good to try and chill out with some music, and obviously try to kind of put that on quite loud. So I've been reliably informed that my next door neighbour has actually begun to, she loves the Sex Pistols and the Buzzcocks since we moved in here. Obviously she probably wasn't subjected to that before we did move into this house years and years ago. Dinner, we'll have dinner together, myself and my wife. So my wife comes in from her Keep Fit class. I'll obviously kind of do the help with the preparation for the head chef. We'll sit down together, have our dinner, sometimes put a bit of smooth radio on to try and chill out again even more, and we then go through the routine of doing the dishes, prepare more lunches for the next day, and I'll obviously kind of try and like to chill out as well later on. If my wife's doing other things, at the moment the World Cup's on, so there's plenty of football on television to kind of keep me going. I'll catch up on other programmes that I've recorded as well. Both of us, we kind of like the same programmes as well, kind of science fiction, detective dramas, etc. The both of us kind of follow Coronation Street, so we'll always kind of make sure we find time to kind of share with that together as well. I try and go to bed around about between 10 and 10:30, but I do like to read before I go to bed, so I've got a kind of collection of books on the go just now. I'm just trying to work my way through them. They're actually beginning to kind of pile up now, so in bed for about 10, start to kind of do a bit of reading, relaxing, and then get to that stage where you feel rather sleepy. So ideally, go to sleep around about 11:15 before it all starts again at 5:30 the next day.
Hi, I'm Aidan Capaldi. I'm 23 and I'm an electrician by trade, and I'm doing this part of the documentary through a lovely little music room that was made by my father. So yeah, you probably won't see it. Like I said, I'm an electrician, so I want to focus on kind of one of the last jobs I did, which can involve me working in 12-hour shift patterns. So basically the shifts would be 6 till 6, so I'd need to wake up at 5 in the morning, kind of just quickly drink some water, throw some clothes on, and then try and get through to Livingston for 6 o'clock, where I'd end up meeting the guy I'm working with and then picking up my van and getting told kind of what I'm doing. Once I got the van, I'd head through to head through to kind of Edinburgh, just around Gorgie, and the main focus of the job would be to change all of their old fluorescent fittings in their warehouse to LEDs. So the part I can think is the easiest to speak about is we were doing the WIP and glass bond rooms. So there's about 16 lights in total between both of the rooms. Like no between. There was 16 lights in both of the rooms, so I had to kind of condense them down to, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was about 8 and 8. We ended up getting both of the rooms. So I think we'd end up starting, by the time we got there, through all the traffic and that, it'd probably be at 6:45. We'd end up starting. So what we'd end up doing is we'd go in and then straight away speak to the people who are there saying, where's the breaker for these 2 rooms? And obviously no one knew, so I had to then go into the board, start just kind of flicking stuff off, giving everyone the little warning, your lights might flicker, nothing's happening, I'm just turning everything off. By the time I figured out the glass bond room, I'd had the other guy I was working with basically prepare the lights. So he was taking them out of their boxes, drilling holes into them, basically the distance between the 2 wee bushes that we then had to screw into the trunking. So once I found the glass bond, we'd then just start all lights off, well 2 rows off, take the lights down, put them inside as neat as we could, and then start putting the new one up. I think break would be around, I think about 10 o'clock ish on that day. So there was a Sainsbury's kind of just around the corner, so there was either the Sainsbury's you go to or the wee petrol station, which was owned by Sainsbury's, which I then found out Sainsbury's just didn't bother stocking because it was always empty. So I'd end up getting like a sandwich, maybe a chocolate bar and just a can of Monster, and we'd sit for like half an hour or something, just kind of talking shit with each other and all that stuff. We'd go back in, I think it'd be about 10:30, 20 to 10, we'd go back in, and we just start lights down, lights up, and then once we've finished 2 of the rows, turn those back on just to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the LEDs, making sure all the lights had their earth, make sure any light that had to be taken out and any connections had to be done in the trunking were safe. And then kind of once we did that, we turn off the last row that was in that room and then just start going down and up again, just basically continuing the same thing. Once I'd done that and the glass bomb was all finished, I had the main guy they had who was kind of telling me what to do. He came in, I'd said, is this good for you? He said, plenty of light, I'm happy. And then he kind of just left me alone, because honestly I don't really think he cared. He was just kind of like, yeah, there's lights in here now, bye. It's kind of what it felt like. Then we'd just kind of repeat what we did in that room just in the WIP. The only problem was there was actually people working in there, so I had to say to them, be prepared because the lights are going to go out. So I was thinking I'll just do it a row at a time, but the problem with these lights was for some reason they were linked, but it was like the middle row was kind of linked with that row, like the far one close to the wall and the other one close to the other wall. So no matter what I did, you always had a live in the lights. It was so weird. So I ended up just having to bite the bullet and saying to them all the lights were going off, just so I could quickly do that. I think I managed to get changed about 5 of them as quick as I could after ripping them down. And then it was about 12 o'clock, half 12, maybe pushing 1 o'clock, I think it was probably 1. Then we would end up going for our lunch. At this point I just started kind of getting quite involved in kind of fitness again and dieting and stuff like that. So I didn't really need to eat at this point because I wasn't really hungry. But so I'd just kind of drink water or something. Then I think it was about half an hour we'd call off for that lunch, and we'd go in about 1:30, 2 o'clock, just kind of depending when we started it. Then it was just a case of going back into WIP, trying to rattle through the final wee lights as quick as we could, just to make sure, like, if anything did go wrong, we didn't have to stay any longer. We could then go, alright, it's all working except that light. So then we had enough time to kind of fix any problems that could arise if something stupid went wrong, like one of the lights didn't work or something, like if it was a faulty light or something, so we wouldn't need to stay till like 8 o'clock trying to figure it out. So I think we ended up getting, we finished both of those rooms about 4:30ish, around about that. Then from 4:30 to about 5:30, we just started kind of cleaning up, all the circuits, make sure they're all back on, make sure nothing's tripping, tidying up the areas just to make sure anyone who's working on a back shift or a night shift in that area would not have to kind of worry about what we've been doing, just in case they're thinking, oh, is everything safe? Can we work in here? Are the sparks needing this stuff? So we kind of wanted to just make it as easy for them to kind of go about their business as it is for us. Once we get to about 5:30, everything's cleaned up. We would then just go into our van, drive back to Livingston, and hope 9 times out of 10 we'd miss the traffic. I think it was sometimes, it's just kind of depending on the day, really. There was one day we ended up getting caught on the road. I think a car was on fire right outside of Livingston. We were going to take the A71. It's like, nah, we'll take the motor, we'll be fine. And then we found out there was a car on fire right outside like the lane for Livingston, so we got stuck in a lovely traffic jam for about fucking hour. Once I get back about 6 o'clock, dump the van, make sure we don't need anything for the next day. We're all kind of sorted. Then it's just kind of drive home, and then usually it takes me about 15 minutes on a good day to get here from Livingston. Go in, and it's either go in straight away from work and just use my gym, and then go up and shower. So by the time I ended up doing that, it was about probably 7, half 7. By the time I'm done a small workout, and then I've done my shower, and then that'll usually be time is when I'll eat something. And kind of in this house, it's kind of hit or miss, kind of depending on what you get. So you really get like spaghetti bolognese, fajitas, like chicken wrapped in parma with like the Philadelphia herb and cheese stuff. Kind of just depending on what I get. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember what I got that day. It was probably chicken, because there's a lot of chicken in the house. After that, I'd go up to my room, and I'd either, depending on what day it was, because sometimes I don't like, I'm quite weird when it comes to playing games. I don't like playing games during the week, so I'd rather, like if I'm doing them, I play games kind of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So during the week I'll probably end up watching kind of something on Netflix or kind of Amazon. I'm quite into anime and like kind of manga, so I like reading all that stuff, and kind of like most recently, like I've been reading Tokyo Ghoul RE, which is just the follow on from Tokyo Ghoul. That's had a adaptation for anime, so I enjoy kind of geeking out and understanding like, oh, that's exactly what happened in the manga. That's brilliant. So I'm quite I wouldn't say purist. I'm quite a big nerd. I think that's pretty much the easiest way to talk about myself when it comes to this kind of stuff like that. And then I think it would be, depending on the day, I'd either go out on Friday night with my mate who lives about half a mile down the road, kind of something like that. And if I don't go out, I'm just going to be a wee hermit and just kind of hide in my room and just kind of either play like something like Assassin's Creed. I'm replaying Origins, just waiting for the new one to come out, or kind of like Attack on Titans game that came out, which I completed in 6 hours after borrowing it from a friend. And yeah, I'm just quite sad when you say it out loud. But yeah, I think from Monday to Thursday, I think I'll end up going to sleep about 10 o'clock ish, maybe 9 o'clock. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. So yeah, bye.
Hi, my name's Andy Middleton. I'm a tour guide. So my day starts at about 5:30 in the morning. My alarm has been set for 6:20, but the cat will come and jump on the bed and start purring in my ear. So as much as I try to push her off, she doesn't go away. So I have to get up at about 5:30. What I do is I just put the dressing gown on, head downstairs, and of course she's racing down the stairs with me, usually overtakes me, and I feed her, and then I can get ready myself. So I put the news on the television, just on in the background while I'm getting ready, just to try and keep up to date with what's happening. I then just have a shower, go upstairs to get dressed. Usually in the shower I'm thinking about what I'm going to be wearing, because I work outside with tourists, so what the weather's doing will depend on what I wear. So once I'm dressed, I get ready, downstairs, have my breakfast, usually a bowl of cereal or porridge, and take a cup of tea in a takeaway cup and jump in the car. I'm normally jumping in the car about 7:15, heading along the road on a journey time about 15 minutes, to get to the park and ride on the outskirts of Edinburgh. At the park and ride, I jump on a tram. Another 35 minutes journey will get me into the city centre. That will then find a hotel where I'm starting the tour. I have to be there for 8:15 because the tour starts at 8:30 and tour guides have to be there 15 minutes before. So the tour director will give me all the details of the group, and then when we're ready to go, I'll phone the castle ahead in advance and get our tickets sorted. So before we've even arrived at the castle, the tickets should be printed off in advance, and then we head off on the coach with the guests. And it's about an hour of a tour. We're doing commentary throughout. No matter what the traffic, we go to the new town, go past the Palace of Holyrood House, up the Royal Mile, through the Grassmarket, and finish with the drop-off point at Edinburgh Castle. And then we go on to Whisper Systems, which are a little microphone that I talk to the clients. They've got an earpiece, they can hear me. And then we walk up to the castle from the drop-off point and head on in. So throughout that, I'm all giving commentary through the microphone, talking to them, walking quite slowly, and we make our way up through the castle. I'm not allowed to guide in any of the buildings in the castle, so I just tell them about each building. That's this. They're the dungeons. And we finish up on Crown Square and sort of say, off you go. There's the Crown Jewels. There's the Great Hall, and I'll see you back at the bus. Give them a time, and then off they go. I then go and get a welcome cup of tea from the Castle Cafe, and at the time, about 20 minutes before the time that we're supposed to be gathering at the pickup point, I'll head down there just so reassure clients if the coach isn't there that I'll be there, and then we get on the bus and return to the hotel. And at that point, that is pretty much the end of my day for an Edinburgh City tour. Then I've got I'm right in the middle of Edinburgh. I just do a little pottering about, do a bit of shopping, do a bit of this, that and the other, and then jump on the tram and head back to my car. Once in the car, I'll then drive home, sometimes via a shop if I need to buy anything, get a few bits and bobs. And then when I'm home here, cat's usually hungry, so I'll feed the cat. And I've got the rest of the afternoon to myself. I've got a few hours, about 2-3 hours before tea time. So I usually just get some housework done, do a bit of gardening, whatever. Just relax really, and do just mundane, boring day-to-day stuff. Get the washing done, that sort of thing. About 4 o'clock, I'm having my dinner. And it's quite a substantial dinner because that's my lunch/dinner. So it's quite a big dinner. And then after dinner, I usually watch something really awful on the television, a bit of escapism. Usually I fall asleep to that. And when I wake up, I will then get the laptop out, check the emails, of which I have many, and then I'll just type away and respond to all the emails for work that's coming in and people that want this, that and the other from me. So and then by that time it's about 9:30 and I'm heading to bed. So I just lock all the doors, I brush my teeth, tell the cat I'm going to bed. She races up the stairs to get her treat, and then we go to bed.
My name's Gav, I'm 26 years old, and how my day would start was I normally got up 7:15 in the morning. I'll hear a cat moaning every morning, meow, and I'm just like, wow, that's me up. So I'll get up, throw myself in the shower straight away. That's how I wake myself up in the morning. Get in the shower for about 10-15 minutes, come out, dry myself. Normally open the window a wee bit, let myself sort of air off a bit. I feel it's easier for putting my deodorant on. Put my deodorant on, get myself dressed, ready to go to work. So how I dress normally, pair of slacks, trousers, shirt, shoes on, and then that's me ready to go. So I'll leave the house maybe about 10 to 8. I'll get the train for about, I think it's about 17 minutes past I get the train, heading to work, and then that's me. So I'll go from work, in at work, I'm a debt collector, so I work on the phone, and that's what I do for a living. So I basically speak to people and try and sort out their issues, how they've been getting on with their previous priority debts, like their rent, mortgage, and how they would like to move forward with the debts that I'm collecting for. So I'll collect for like credit cards and things like that, and I just basically find out what happened for the balance to come to ourselves, and then I'll just try and help that customer to try and get that debt behind them, get on a payment plan, and then move on. So my usual working day, I can work anywhere between sort of 8:30 and 5, and then after that, my other shift I tend to do is between 12 and 8. But I'm giving you the sort of rundown of my sort of early shift, the 8:30 till 5 one. So my shift will normally start at 8:30. My first break's about 10 o'clock. It's a 15-minute break, don't do much, maybe sit on my phone, play a Pokemon or something. Back to lunchtime's about 1:30. Probably just have a wee sandwich, or if I take some dinner, I'll maybe have some chicken and some rice. After that, it'll be a case of go back on the phone till about, I think it's about 3:15 my last break, and then just yet again, sit in the break out there on my phone for a while, back to it, finish at 5. Once 5 o'clock comes, hopefully I've solved everybody's issues on the phone. Can't see that happening, but I can try. And then after that, I go to the gym. Normally after work, I go with my pal Jerry, who's my team manager at work. We've been going a bit recently. He's been teaching me a few new moves in the gym, so I've been quite happy with myself, trying to lose a bit of weight. I think I've been doing quite well on that part recently. Been going for about 4 weeks again. First time I've been since about August time last year, so I'm starting to really get back into it and try and lose a bit of weight. Confidence boost up myself, I suppose. And then after that, I'll head up the road, so I'll probably be in the gym for about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. Head up the road after that, and normally once I get in, I'll play my Xbox. I love my Xbox One. Recently I've been playing a game called Far Cry 5, big fan of it, really really good. That and FIFA, I'm a big fan of FIFA. Recently they've brought out the World Cup edition of that, so really excited for the World Cup starting in a few weeks, maybe even less than a week now. So I'm quite looking forward to that. But then once I'm home, play the Xbox real well until about 10 o'clock, and then about 10 o'clock I'll sort of switch off. At that point my girlfriend comes home, so she's in for the house about 10:20, and then we'll just maybe sit and watch a wee programme. Recently we've been watching Love Island, which it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, to be honest. I've been quite enjoying it. Other than that, we've been watching South Park. I'm not a big fan of South Park, I've just got to season 3 on that. Been really really enjoying it. But that's the sort of rundown of my sort of breakdown of the day. After about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I'll probably go to my bed at that point. If I'm on the sort of later shift, I'll maybe go a bit later, maybe about 2. I'll probably just stay up and play the Xbox when she goes to bed. But yeah, that's pretty much a rundown of my day.
My name's Alison Gallagher and I'm 29 years old. I typically wake up at 6:45 every morning, between 6:45 6:50. As soon as I wake up, I'll come down the stairs and let my French Bulldog out the back for him to go to the toilet. I'll change his water, give him new food. From there I'll generally prepare my own breakfast, which is typically is a bowl of cereal. I come through, eat my breakfast in the living room, watching a little bit of morning telly. From there I'll go up, have my shower and get ready for work. My husband works offshore, so it depends on whether he's home or he's away, on what I do with the dog. Typically he's got a house in the kitchen, and he'll be left in during the day while I'm at work. I'll then, if my husband's home, obviously he'll walk him during the day and take him out, and he'll just have free rein of the house. From there I'll leave about 8:10 to go for my train from Barrhead to Glasgow Central. I work for a bank in town as a mortgage underwriter. So I deal with mortgage applications that are submitted by brokers. A broker will submit the application online, and from there I'll assess and either accept or decline a case. Typically I'm 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. I'll take my lunch break between 1 and 2 p.m. For lunch I'll either sit in the work canteen, or I will, if it's nice weather like we've been having just now, then I'll go up to the rooftop gardens and have my lunch up there. Typically it's a tuna salad, or tuna pasta. From there I'll go back to work at 2 o'clock. So as I say, I assess mortgage applications. I'll be looking at who's applied. Does the scenario fit? Does the size of the property fit the amount of people that are applying for this? I'll look at the source of their deposit, how much they're purchasing a property for, and then how much they're looking to borrow from the bank. From there I'm looking at affordability, I'm looking at credit information, and just generally getting an overall sense of the case and whether it's plausible. From there, as I say, I leave work at 5 o'clock. From 5 o'clock I'll head back down to Central Station and get on my train back to Barrhead. When I come in, I'll take the dog out for a walk. As I say, it depends on my husband's home. Generally if he's away and I'm on my own, then I'll go straight out with the dog and we'll go for a 10-15 minute walk. When I come back, my husband will say I'm probably a bit of a clean freak, and I cannot sit down or relax in the house until I've done my house in the evening. So I spend an hour every single night going round and just tidying the house up, putting a washing on before I'll do anything. From there I'll then make my lunch for work the next morning, and then I'll start to prepare my dinner. Just really depends what I'm fancying that night, whether it's a takeaway, whether I'm on my diet, whether I'm not on my diet, on what I have. It is pretty varied. I don't have a certain thing that I eat every single night. From there I'll generally come in, watch a bit of telly. I've got a lot of friends that live in the street, so either they'll pop to me or I'll pop to them just for a quick catch up, once or twice a week. And then from there I'll wait up until my washing's finished, generally finished about 9 o'clock, and then I'll go to my bed roughly about 10 o'clock each night.
My name's Scott Waddle, I'm aged 30. Typical day for me is, in my opinion, quite boring. However, I usually wake up round about 7 o'clock, get up about 7:15ish, go for a shower, have my breakfast, which is usually bowl of cereal, shredded wheat or something like that. Then I'll just sit and watch some telly, watch the news for about 15 minutes with a coffee just to chill out before I go to work. Usually leave round about 8 o'clock. Traffic's okay there, so I get into work no problem. So after I leave from here, get in my car, head to work. It takes about 20 minutes. Heading off to Hamilton, where the office is based, which I spend most of my working week there. In my day job, my job title is project coordinator, which essentially means I'm an architect / project manager for a modular building company. Sort of overall job description is basically managing construction projects from design through to handing it over to a client, including everything in between that. So start off with my day, which I'll get into the office, turn my computer on, it's about an 8:30 start, so I like to get in sharp about 20 past, just to start reading through my emails. I'll spend about probably 20 minutes to 30 minutes in the morning just responding to emails that maybe come in later on in the previous day, and it's where I just checking my calendar, see what I've got for the day ahead. So typical day for me from there on in would usually have it's usually a meeting about some sort of project or other office based thing. I'll probably spend a good half an hour to an hour in my morning most days in some sort of meeting. Then it's back to the desk. I'll have a bit of drawing work to catch up on, or planning my diary in terms of preparing for future meetings with clients, things along that line. So that will usually take up pretty much most of the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll typically head on a site visit. So an example of that would be potentially going through to, say, Edinburgh, just have a look at ongoing jobs through there, which will be jobs on a construction site. So it'll be catching up with the guys on the ground, with the site manager, just to get an update of what's going on, and also meeting up with whatever client happened to be for that job. Just a quick meeting, progress check, etc. And taking away probably a list as long as my arm of things to do, which is quite typical. What I like to do is, if I can get away with it, if I am out and about in the afternoon, is try and head directly home to get a wee skive or stop going back to the office. But more often than not, it doesn't work out like that. So usually it's back to the office after that to sit at the desk, head back into drawings and meeting minutes and spreadsheets and look at costs for this, that and the other. And then that will take me to a finish time of 5 o'clock, which is usually pretty prompt. Sometimes it can run on a bit, but where I work in my company, we don't really have a culture of working late, so come 5:15 everyone's out the door, which works for me. I enjoy my job, but don't want to be there all night. I prefer getting home and getting on with whatever else I need to do back home. So if I do leave the office the back of 5:15, I'll be home back in the house 5:30, 25 to 6. Then I'll just sort of have a catch up with my wife Lauren, have a play with the dog, and then either make dinner or take the dog for a walk, whichever one I can be bothered doing first. Usually take the dog for a walk, so if it's a nice day, we'll head out for about half an hour. The dog's a Cocker Spaniel, so she'll run and run and run, which is fine for me. I don't mind walking. And then it's back home to cook some dinner. Do enjoy making dinner, so I like to spend a good hour in the kitchen making whatever I feel like having for dinner that day, albeit sort of Thai or making sort of Chinese noodles or whatever we feel like. That's how I like to spend some of the night just relaxing. After that, me and Laura will typically sit down, watch the telly, or if we're feeling really adventurous, we'll be going for a big walk later on with the dog, just to get a bit more exercise in the night time. Occasionally, not as often as I should, I'll go out for a run, perhaps, or head out on the bike for an hour. But yeah, not as often as I used to, not as often as I should when it comes to the exercise. Well, depending on where we both are, we'll always be back in the house for about 9 o'clock at the latest. We'll either sit and watch TV, or occasionally might have some extra work to do. As part of a side job, I'll occasionally take on work for people on an ad hoc basis, so that's just architect work really. So there'll be some drawings to do for, be it a small extension or a garage conversion, so I'll just do that for a bit of extra money on the side really. So if I am doing that, that might take an hour or two in the odd evening just to keep that ticking over. I'll make sure whatever we're doing, we stop by 10:30 at the latest. I like to sort of get my sleep, so make sure I'm in bed by about 10:30, 11. If I don't get the full 8 hours sleep, then I struggle the next day, so it's important that we do that. So I would say that that's the average day during the week, and then it's case the next day just get up and do it all again.
Hi there, my name's Brian McClellan and I'm 35 years old and I'm currently a chef at the Mediterranean restaurant in Glasgow, and I've been here since 2 years. I've been a chef for almost 17 years, and a normal day would consist of myself getting up at around 7 o'clock in the morning, where I would get a shower and have something maybe for breakfast, like over cornflakes or so. I leave the house for around 9 o'clock, where I would normally go and get the bus, which normally takes around 45 minutes to get here. During the normal working day, I start at 10 o'clock and we would start doing prep with the rest of the team. There's another 4 or 5 chefs that work with us. And the normal prep day would normally consist of doing pizza doughs fresh, got spaghetti bolognese fresh, making up Napoli sausages. All the sausages that we do is actually prepped on the premises. Around 12 o'clock we open the restaurant and we serve our lunch menu, which consists of sea bass, we do pastas, pizzas, and that would normally consist of up to around 3 o'clock, where we would normally quieten down and get ready for the evening menu. It normally would start around 5 o'clock. On that menu is a bit more sophisticated in the food that we do. It consists of sea bass, but we do also beef stroganoff, and we also again make these sausages from fresh. A normal lunch day would normally be around between 3 and 5, where I would normally have something to eat, and I would normally have a pasta or a pizza, which again that would normally be about 3 or 4 o'clock. During that working day, we normally start cleaning down around 7 o'clock, where we start to put all the stuff away in the fridges, and that probably lasts about an hour, 2 hours before we start doing the full clean down, which would normally be around up to about 10 o'clock when we close the kitchen. My normal day would go up to get a bus, and that would take me home for about 11 o'clock, where I would normally just have something to eat or a takeaway, and then I would go to my bed around about 11:30, 12 o'clock.
I'm Amy Buchanan and I'm 21 years old. I wake up at around 8:30 in the morning, and then I go into the kitchen, and usually I help my gran just sort of get her breakfast sorted, so taking out the bowls and the cups and everything, and we usually eat Cheerios, which is nice, I guess. And then I also, after I sort of have some breakfast, then we go and we watch like the news in the morning, and then I go to work. So I was working at a local shop that was around the corner from me, and then I do that until about 12:30. Then I come home and I help make lunch with my gran, and we would usually just sort of have something relatively simple. So I'm not the best cook in the world. I'm actually really bad at cooking, so I like things that are super easy to make. So I guess on an average day I would have the sort of thing that you can just put in the oven and turn it on, and then about after like 30 minutes you're good to go. So then after that I would help her make lunch for my granddad, who like actually can't eat solid foods, so we would make something that he could easily eat, so then I help her do that. And then I might go meet up with a friend around like 4:30, and I'll take the bus into town and meet up with friends like in the park or something, and then hang out, maybe get a coffee or something, and then come home around 7:30, and then around then I would help make just like a light meal or something. So part of what I do when I live with my grandparents is work as like a part-time carer, just, you know, because we don't have like a lot of family around, so I'm the person that I guess helps, I guess, with things that older people, once you get to a certain age, you have a hard time doing, like lifting things and stuff. So if it's summertime like it is right now, I'll go down into the garden, I'll like water all the plants. My gran's really obsessed with plants. Her favourite show is Beech Grove Gardens, and I don't have the heart to tell her that I don't enjoy watching it, but I've dug myself too deep into a hole. So when I come home she's like, oh, I recorded Beech Grove Gardens and Landward for you, which is like a farming programme, and then I pretend to sit there and enjoy it. But I don't know, it's really good, I think, if you've had kind of a long day, to just sort of like use it to go to bed and get kind of sleepy. So then after that, we would probably just sort of like sit around and chat and that sort of thing. And then I would go into my room and I spend a lot of time on social media. So I mean, throughout the day I'm like kind of checking Facebook a lot, but towards the end of the day I spend a lot of time looking at memes and that sort of thing. So that's always fun. My sister actually lives in America, so a way that we keep in touch is I'll like tag her in different memes on Facebook, and I usually do that around like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. So I think she usually appreciates that. Lately I've been better about actually calling her and actually talking to her and having a conversation, because we both realised we hadn't talked to each other in like 3 weeks, and I was like, what? I always feel like we're talking, but that's not what actual communication is. You know, it's better to actually have a conversation with somebody than to just tag them in a picture of a dog. So yeah, I'm actually a huge night owl, so I don't really go to bed until quite late, usually 1:30. So sort of what I do at night is a bunch of different things. I like to watch films. I am most productive at night, so if I have some work to do, like an essay or something like that, I usually do it relatively late. And depending on kind of when I get done with that, then I'll go to bed kind of around 2 o'clock on average, but that's something I'm trying to be better at, having more of a routine bedtime. Especially in summertime, I think just general light keeps me up. But yeah, so that's kind of an average day for me during the summertime. And yes, that's a day in the life of Amy.
Sono Paola e ho 74 anni quasi, non proprio, a settembre. Sono stata un'insegnante alle scuole superiori in Italia, a Padova, dove abito, per molti anni, e adesso sono naturalmente in pensione. Mi considero una persona fortunata perché ho un marito molto gentile, molto simpatico, molto affezionato, e ho 2 figli, Marco che vive in Scozia e Anna che vive molto vicino a me, porta a porta, e ha 2 bambini che si chiamano Samuele e Federico. Mi alzo la mattina alle 8:30, 9, un po' tardi, e la colazione la prepara il mio gentilissimo marito, quasi sempre. Facciamo colazione e io mangio, io bevo caffè e mangio yogurt, una mela e dei biscotti, 4 biscotti. Poi ci sistemiamo, ci vestiamo, andiamo a fumare una sigaretta in terrazza. Poi ci vestiamo, io sistemo le cose di casa, penso anche al mangiare, qualche volta usciamo per fare la spesa insieme o anche da sola, e vado sempre in bicicletta. Mi piace andare in bicicletta e per me è molto più comodo. E così porto le borse della spesa sulla bicicletta. Poi di mattina cerco sempre di vedere Televideo, che è un programma TV con le notizie di tutta la giornata, dall'Italia, dal mondo, di economia, e mi piace leggerle perché così ci penso di più, le capisco meglio. Ecco, poi preparo da mangiare e noi abbiamo il pranzo alle 1:30 del pomeriggio e poi andiamo a fumare una sigaretta dopo pranzo e poi andiamo a fare un riposino, magari leggo un po' e dormo un po'. Il mercoledì, che è il giorno che vorrei raccontare di più, Ho una lezione di ripetizione a casa con un ragazzo che è figlio di una mia scolara, una lezione di greco antico che ho insegnato per tanti anni. E mi diverto molto a fare questa lezione, questo ragazzo è anche bravo, è piacevole. Già la mattina però io in genere ho tenuto il nipotino più piccolo che è Federico, che ha 3 mesi e mezzo e che spesso piange e bisogna distrarlo e bisogna cullarlo in giro per la casa. Poi nel pomeriggio intanto è tornato Samuele dalla scuola d'infanzia, dalla scuola materna, e allora giochiamo con Samuele, facciamo la merenda. In questi giorni è a casa anche mia figlia Anna, quindi stiamo anche con lei, l'aiutiamo un poco e stiamo in terrazza a giocare col bambino adesso che il tempo lo permette. Ecco, poi quando sono le 7 di sera io comincio a preparare la cena mentre Samuele fa il bagno, il bagnetto con la sua mamma o col suo nonno, e poi va a vedere dei cartoni animati col nonno. Noi poi ceniamo quando è finito tutto questo, cioè 8:30, 9 in genere. Ceniamo, dopo cena la sigaretta e poi in genere io preparo, metto in ordine, qualche volta preparo la lavatrice, cosa faccio? Faccio anche Duolingo per imparare l'inglese, faccio qualche lezione di Duolingo al computer, guardo il computer e poi guardo la televisione con mio marito sul divano, belli comodi, e mi piacciono i gialli, quelli che non fanno troppa paura, dove ci sono i detective che trovano sempre i colpevoli. Mi piace che i buoni siano buoni e i cattivi siano cattivi e vadano in prigione. Ecco, poi verso mezzanotte, verso le 12 andiamo a letto e ci addormentiamo e dormiamo sempre molto volentieri. Ecco, io ho finito e questa è una mia giornata tipo.
My name's Paul Friel. I'm 43 years old and I work as a business development manager for a headhunting company. I get up in the morning at 7:15 and usually I get out of bed straight away, go to the toilet, and then I make a coffee, go back to my bed, and I read the news on my phone while I'm drinking my coffee. I then get up at 7:15 and make the bed, go to the bathroom, get showered, shaved, and then I get dressed for work and then get in the car and I drive to work, which takes me normally about 20 minutes to half an hour. I get there usually around 8:15, and when I arrive at work I go and I make another coffee straight away. Sometimes I'll have some cereal for breakfast at work, other times I don't, but then I will sit down at my chair, I open my laptop. First thing I do is check my emails, and I also check LinkedIn, which I use for work to identify, connect and engage with prospects, people that I'm trying to win as new customers for the company I work for. So I'll usually do that for the first hour or two. I'll respond to any messages either on LinkedIn or emails. After that, normally around 10:30, 11 o'clock is when I'll arrange any presentations that I have with clients, which I deliver online, so usually through something like a WebEx, for example. Deliver those presentations, and then that usually takes about an hour, any presentation that I have. After I finish that, I will send any follow-up emails or anything that I've agreed to share with the client. And then at 12 o'clock, almost always lunchtime. Typically for lunch I have a salad and then some whole grain rice, which is pretty dull, but it's trying to eat a wee bit healthily. So I usually take about half an hour, 45 minutes for lunch. Sometimes I work through lunch, but either way, by around 12:45, 1 o'clock, I get back into my work tasks and will continue to engage with potential clients, whether that's by phone or whether that is through email or as I say, through LinkedIn. I also usually in the afternoon will have a meeting of around an hour, sometimes 2 hours, on a couple of IT projects that we're working on. So in terms of new software that the company is purchasing, and that those meetings can, sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours, but they can really tend to drag on and end up taking up most of the afternoon. When I've finished that, it's almost always time to finish. I'll tidy up any last minute tasks that I haven't got done, so any follow-ups that I have, or any planning and preparation that I need to do for the following day. So for example, if I have an early meeting, then I'll need to prepare presentation, do a little bit of research on the client that I'm meeting with the following day. So leave work at 4:30, that's when I finish, and we'll drive back to the south side of Glasgow where I live, and then I'll go usually to my parents for dinner, or my girlfriend's occasionally as well. Get my dinner at my parents and have a chat with them, spend a bit of time with them, and then so that's about sort of 5 o'clock, 5:30 I get there, and then I usually leave at around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Go back to my own house, which isn't far away from there. It's about 10-15 minutes in the car, half-hour walk. And when I get home, I'll either go out running or I'll go for a walk for about an hour. So that usually takes me up to about 9:30, 9:45. And when I get back in from that, quite often I'll sit and watch TV for maybe half an hour, so around 10 o'clock. And usually something like a documentary on Netflix, or maybe something like a quiz show or something for half an hour. Then go to bed, usually at about 10:30, do a little bit of reading, check the news as well, and then around 11 o'clock I switch the light off and go to sleep.
Hi, my name is Maya Relson. I'm 53 years old. I am not Scottish, as you'll probably pick up from my accent, but I've been here for 31 years. I have pretty much, I would say I'm pretty much a creature of habit, so my lifestyle in general is very much a routine, day to day. My average day, I would say, starts probably around between 6:30 and 7:15, really, when I'm waking up. I tend to be a slow riser, wake up, come down the stairs probably about 7:15, and the first thing I do is tend to get the kettle on, make myself a cup of coffee, sit and catch up on the news headlines first thing in the morning, and I tend to do that till probably about 7 o'clock, when I head upstairs to wake my 14-year-old up and try to stir her for the day ahead. I'll come back down. Don't tend to have anything to eat for breakfast at home, but I'm quite happy to have a couple of cups of coffee before my day starts properly. Once my daughter's down, we get her sorted out, get breakfast ready for her, and then it's a general mad rush to get ourselves dressed and organised to get out the door within 3/4 of an hour. We tend to do that, it's very much a routine for us, so we can do it in swift time. Leave the house probably about 25 past 8:30 to do the school run, drop her off at school. Generally we're having a quick catch up in the morning outside the school gates before I throw her out the car, and I make a mad dash to my office. I tend to panic because I've never got enough change for parking meters, but that's always in the forefront of my mind about what loose change I've got in my bag. So generally I would say I'm stopping off at a coffee shop to try and get coffee to take me into the office, but more importantly to provide me with change for the parking meters. When I get into the office, generally it's a case of sort of logging on, and first thing probably I do is check my calendar to see what my day has in store for me. I'm a project manager for an economic development agency here in Scotland, with my focus very much on aviation links and working with airlines to try and secure new air services for Scotland, but particularly those air services that have economically important air services, as opposed to the sort of sunshine routes that most people are generally interested in. So I tend to, the first thing really I would be doing would be responding to emails that happened overnight. At home I tend to keep a check on emails, so there's not too many surprises when I go in the morning, but because we have offices all around the world within different time zones, colleagues quite often will be sending you emails through the night, and I'll respond to those in the morning. Throughout the day I will have a series of meetings, some directly with airlines here in Scotland, others I'm having to travel to have meetings with them, whether that be here in the UK or overseas. And really my job really is about talking up Scotland and try to encourage direct airlines to have direct services in and out of Scotland and Scottish airports. And I do that most days, and in between that you've got those kind of day-to-day things that you have to tackle. So you've got your internal work that you have to keep on top of it's not part of your core job, but things that have to be done. So I spend a lot of time doing that. Also, a lot of my meetings are about sharing what I do with colleagues. The organisation I work for, we have about 1,500 people, so I need to make sure that people are aware of what I'm doing, and making sure that we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet. I would say probably about 11:30 I'm really starting to think about lunch, to be honest, because I've not had breakfast and I've spent the whole morning drinking coffee. So about 11:30 I'm starting to think about what I'm going to have. Most days I'll grab something from the local chip shop, which is right next to our office, which is very, very convenient. And I have great intentions of going in and getting a soup and a roll, but I would say 9 times out of 10 I'm coming out with a roll and chips. When I'm feeling very smug and very kind of conscientious, I'll head up to Paisley Town Centre into Marks and Spencer's and grab a salad, but those salad days are becoming fewer and fewer. My afternoon again is very similar to my morning. It consists of having meetings with airlines, meeting colleagues, internal colleagues, but also meeting with colleagues that I work in close partnership with colleagues at the Scottish Government and Visit Scotland. And we work together very much as a team. So we have these regular meetings. With technology changing all the time, it doesn't always require me to physically go to meetings, and that we can have Skype calls that we have at work that we can do while sitting at your desk. Once I'm kind of on top of all of this stuff, if I'm based in the office, I will probably leave the office around 5 o'clock, back of 5. If I'm out of the office, I'll be travelling home from wherever my meeting is. If it's in Edinburgh, it's just I tend to either take the train or drive, and the coming home, arriving at home depends on the traffic and the time I leave Edinburgh. Getting home, it's very much a sort of standard thing. We come home, we just catch up very quickly on who's been doing what during the day. And then it's time to start thinking about tea. I would say most of the week, Monday to Thursday, my husband tends to cook for us. And I would say most of the time, whatever he cooks, we tend to complain about. But we've got to give him credit for trying. So tonight, for example, we had steak and chips. Yesterday, I think we had cheese toasties. So it varies from day to day, and by the time the weekend comes, I can be assured that we're going to have a proper meal because I'm cooking it. Once tea's done and everything's tidied up, we tend to again just sit around having a catch up. I like to get organised pretty early, so I'm generally bathed and in my pyjamas quite early, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Gives me time to catch up on all my soaps if I can. If I've got them recorded, I'll catch up on that. I'm back to enjoying reading a lot, so I tend to read quite a lot of stuff. Catching up on the news, particularly American news, seems to be taking up a lot of my time these days. My daughter, once she's up to bed, it's about 9 o'clock. Most nights I'm thinking that actually it'd probably be a perfect time for me to go, but I try to stay up for a little bit longer than a 14-year-old. And then I would say about 10 o'clock I really am ready for bed, and once I've sort of tidied up things around us, I'm generally heading up to bed. And I would have to say I'm not one of these people that has a problem in sleeping, because as soon as my head hits the pillow, I'm out, and I don't think about too much until the next day when it all starts again.
Hello, my name is Thomas Simon. My normal day during the week is after I lost my job, I go to a job club on a Wednesday. This is my normal routine. Is I get up at 8 o'clock, I get a shave in the shower, I put a boiled egg and some toast and tea on, and then I go upstairs, get a shave and a shower, I iron my shirt, brush my shoes, look at my stuff, and go to my job club at normally 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm there till 1 o'clock. Whilst I'm there, I'm actively on the computer to look for a job. There's 2 or 3 advisors at the club that can steer you in the right direction to try and find a job. They facilitate my CV, they facilitate any job applications that I go for, and they advise me and guide me to try and find another job. When I leave there at 1 o'clock, I've got to admit I go for a pint. After that, when I've done that, I come up the road, and depending on my wife's shifts, then I will make the dinner, which is obviously a daily occurrence. My wife works different shifts, so depending on what time my wife comes back, we'll have our dinner, sometimes with a glass of wine. Then after that we have a cup of tea to watch the news. I've got to admit, most times my wife commandeers the television to her soaps, so I'll go upstairs and play my game on the computer. I just play card games on the computer. When I've done that, I normally come back downstairs, another cup of tea, and it's time for bed. I normally go to bed about 1 or 2 in the morning, so I've got to admit I stay up sometimes and watch a film on Netflix, or my friend has got me a tablet, and I watch the films on the tablet, so I'm catching up on The Sopranos and Cheers and different other programmes. So I watch that, and I normally go to my bed about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then start the whole day off again.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I'm 21-year-old, and I come from a place called the Westwood. So my day-to-day life, I get up in the morning, I look at my clock and I think, patch it, back to bed for 15 minutes. Do the same again, 15 minutes, patch it, try and leave it as late as I can generally leave it. So when I'm starting at 9 o'clock, I need to kind of be up for, I should be getting up for about 7:15, but I chance it and I don't get up to about 8. So I get up at 8, get out my bed, make sure I'm still kind of functioning, I'm alright, I check myself, I'm alright, look in the mirror, make sure everything's okay, I've not came out in a breakout or anything. Go into the bathroom and then I just jump in the shower, get a shower, maybe about 10 minutes in the shower, make sure I'm alright, get out, usually just don't even dry myself, just get into my room, get the hairdryer out, start drying myself with a hairdryer, get ready, usually pick out the most crease shirt I can, hide it, put a jumper over it, get my trousers on, pair of shoes, head down to the station. So I need to catch a 8:30 train that gets me in to Glasgow Central for about kind of 5 to 9, so I've got 5 minutes to get from Glasgow Central up to my work, which is normally about a 10-minute walk, so I'm always in a rush, always fighting to get up to the street because you're always stuck behind some clown. It's taking too long to walk. Get out of my work, first thing I do, get a coffee, bounce up to my desk, sit at my desk, log in, talk to everybody, make sure everybody's cool, everybody's alright. If everybody's sound, jump on the phone, take calls. I take it in between 20 to 25 calls a day. Try to avoid as much work as I can. Just have a laugh really in work, get my first break. If you're doing a 9 start, you're getting your first break at about 10:15 usually, so get my break, jump out for a smoke, get a smoke, take my time, come back, go to the bathroom, do the toilet and all that, and then basically get back up to the floor, and that's really up to about lunchtime, just working away. Lunchtime about 12:30 to 1:30, get a lunch, see who's on lunch. If like my pal Sean or Mark or Sean, he's in work, try and get one of them. Go out, get lunch, usually just stay in because you can't be bothered walking anywhere. Get in, get a scran, go out for a smoke and then jump back up to work where you're pretty much on the phone for 2.5 hours straight. Go off the phone, go your last break. That's normally about it, and then it's time to kind of start switching off, kind of making sure that you get everything organised to get first out the door as quick as you can. So when you get out the door eventually at 5 o'clock, it's a mad rush again to try and get down to Glasgow Central because your train's every half an hour, 40 minutes, so you need to make sure you get it, otherwise you're just going to be there all night. Get on the train, normally standing, because ScotRail don't put enough carriages on, so that's normally about it, just standing there, everybody in a bad mood, no talking to each other, pure roasting outside, no aircon, no nothing. So you're pure miserable when you get off the train, but at least when you're back home, you're back home. Normally takes you about, I would say, half an hour to get home, normally, if everything's alright, if you're walking up. And then once you get in, get your dinner, go up, see what you need to do, if you've got anything to do, like tidy your room, do any washing, do things like that, make sure it's getting done. Then just check your phone, wait for a text or something to do, if it's either your girlfriend that's texting you, or it's your pals, asking you to go and watch the football at the pub. And then if you end up going to see a girlfriend, usually you're just sitting about watching telly and Netflix, just sitting about for a few hours and then you go to bed. Or if you go to with your pals and you go to get a few pints with the boys and that, get football on, get coupons on, then that's it really. So you do that, come out the pub pissed, and then basically what you do is you then try to get the dancing. So you go to the dancing, come back home, nothing's really happened, you know, you're thinking to yourself before you even woke up, I can't believe I've done that because I've got work in 5 hours and you've spent all your money, so you're skint. And then it's basically just off to your bed, just get a drink of water or something, try and cure it before it happens, and then once you get into bed, so it's about maybe 3:30, 4:45 after the dancing, then that's it. Just back up again in the morning, need to worry about sleeping in, so you set about 4 alarms that you don't need, but that's it. And that's a normal day-to-day thing.
My name's Jacqueline McConaughey, I'm aged 30. So in the morning I get up about 5:15. Normally get up, switch on television, put on Sky News, then I go and have a shower, come out, get my makeup on, get my clothes ready for the day, always make sure I've got my purse and my uniform in my bag. I normally set out, and that normally takes me till about 6:15. Then I leave the house and I leave from Carfin, so it takes me about 25 to 30 minutes. When I arrive at work by car, I go in, get changed in the changing rooms, and then head to the nursery station. There we'll pick up our handovers, and we're allocated into our teams. Find out who we're working with and skill mix and whatever we have to do that day. Then we listen to a race bar in the morning, so that normally highlights what's happened overnight, if there's any changes and anything we need to be alerted to. And then we go get our handovers, and that normally takes us to about 7:30 in the morning. We normally start our medication 7:30. We go try and get our medications out within an hour. And then after that we normally come back, and then we start our ward rounds in the morning. Our ward rounds can normally take us half an hour to an hour, going over each of our patients. Trying to think what else we do. After we do our handover to the doctors, we decide who's getting discharged and what paperwork we need to do. Then we meet up with the multidisciplinary team, with the physios and the OTs, where they like a handover to, where we go over the complex discharges and decide who can go home, who can't, and what they need to go home, like social work and different things like that. So that'll normally take us up to about 10:30, 11. Then we go back and we do wound dressings, any other vital signs and things like that we need to do for the day. And sometimes if we can squeeze in some paperwork then. And then it's lunchtime again, and then it's back to medications. And then after the medications, the nurses normally go on their tea break. We will go downstairs, and there's maybe about 4 or 5 of us. We go for a break together, normally chatting about the ward, chatting about anything that's happening round about, maybe what we've been doing on our days off. And then we go back to the ward again, documentations again, and we normally catch up with vital signs or anything we need to do from the multidisciplinary team meeting. That could be phoning and different things and getting the patient ready for discharge. Then again, that'll take us maybe up to about 2 o'clock. Again, we'll just sit down, do paperwork, answer buzzers, things like that, and chatting with the doctors, catching up and chasing bloods. And then that'll normally take us up to about 3, 4 o'clock, where again we start about 4 o'clock, we do our medication round again, and we get our patients, that'll normally take us till about 4:30, and then from 4:45 we normally get our patients ready for dinner, setting them up in bed and turning them and things like that, getting their tables ready. And then at 5 o'clock till 5:30, 6 o'clock we give out patients meals. And and then from 6 o'clock we kind of try and get a wee 20 minutes in for ourselves a break. Again, we just split it up into 2 or 3 teams and we just go for a tea break, and then come back. We make sure our patients are all organised for a night shift coming in, and normally we sit down at the computer for 10-15 minutes, updating our handover, and then from 7 till 7:30 we hand over to the next shift, and then from 7:30 we get to go off shifts, and I leave with my car again, and that'll take me probably another half hour to get home. When I get home, I normally get organised. I normally put my wee girl to bed, and then get organised. If I'm working the next day, I come back down and just get organised lunch-wise, and maybe catch up with my fiance, find out what he's been doing on the day, and do some housework. And I normally aim to be in bed for about 11ish. Normally sitting down to watch a DVD or a Netflix or something like that.
My name's Chris Craig. I'm 31 years old. I'm from Bellshill in Lanarkshire. Now live in Kinning Park in Glasgow. I'm a mental health nurse with NHS Scotland, and I'm based in Glasgow as a mental health nurse as well. Today I was on an early shift, so I'll just use an early shift as an example. I'll use that as my day. So quite often I'll wake up about 6:15. That gives me a whole half hour to get ready for work. I'm quite easy. I have everything prepared the night before, I have myself prepared, my bag prepared, and the only thing I really have to do is make sure that I bring my keys, my wallet, my phone, and make sure I brush my teeth and bring my lunch with me as well. So like today, for example, it was some oat milk, some cereal, and some juice. So that's what I took to work with me today. Unfortunately I missed my bus this morning. I thought it was the weekday and it's actually Saturday today, so that's why I missed. So I had a whole half hour to wait around, phone my work obviously to explain, and they were fine with it, so that's all great. But on a typical day I'll be arriving about maybe 7:15, getting into the ward, just making sure I'm into the locker room, meeting my patients, meeting my colleagues, and then having the handover, which is like a brief report of all the patients. There's about 24 people in my ward, so any given time we'll have 24 patients in, or they could be on pass, or they could be out doing things in the campus at the hospital. So we get the brief handover, and what we deal with is patients with depression and suicidal ideation, schizophrenia, personality disorders, even addictions and sort of relapse prevention. So it can be quite a varied bunch of people that we have in the ward, so you have to know them really well. The handover is very important. For example, there's a lady who hasn't slept for several days recently, so it's important to know if she's slept, if she's eaten, if she's drinking as well. So that's the sort of thing that's really important. After that point, I'll check the diaries. I'll check with my colleagues if anything needs to be done. We also do all the controlled drug checks. We do a safe check. We'll make sure that the ward is clean. We'll change beds. We'll check that the racers have been handed in as well, because we have a sign out and sign in system for people to shave themselves in the morning. We'll then call people for breakfast, and at that point we'll do the medication round. So very important that we don't get interrupted, but of course we do get interrupted quite a lot. It can be very easy to be distracted by people who are shouting or swearing or maybe kicking off somewhere else in the ward. So you have to time manage and also people manage at the same time, while also keeping your calm and being as cool as possible. So after all that's been done, today for example we typically would liaise with occupational therapists, psychiatric nurses in other wards, psychiatrists themselves, community psychiatric nurses who are looking after our patients in the community, physiotherapists, just all sorts of the multidisciplinary team. So that's quite a lot of our time spent there. We email back and forth, we'll phone through, we'll book appointments for our patients, and just liaise with patients and their families as well. And today was quite a lot of liaising with the police, as we had patients off the ward who shouldn't have been, or people who were feeling vulnerable in the community, so they have to come back into the ward for their own benefit. And that was a bit stressful today. If you're lucky, you will get a break assigned to you by the senior charge nurse or the charge nurse who's there. If you're not, then it's just sort of go as you can, and you'll be told as you can. So if it's on the board, you know what's going on during the day, and if you don't, then that's fair enough. It just depends on staffing levels. I would say obviously the NHS is a little bit stressed at times with staff levels, so hopefully we'll see more nurses signing up. But after that we'll call for lunches as well, 12 o'clock or thereabouts, and we should at that point have had people away for breaks so that the staff don't get exhausted. We also have certain patients who need to be escorted at all times, so they have to have a member of staff with them. That's a legal requirement. And those who are detained in the hospital as well, they have to be in the hospital. After this point, my shift finishes at 3:30, so it's making sure that all our notes, everything is documented properly, all the patients are obviously satisfied with their care, and that the handover is completed to your colleagues if anything's not been finished or if anything important has not been passed on yet. For example, if somebody's mother's phoned for them and they want them to call back, you can't just leave that, you've got to pass on the message. Simple things like that can be missed, and if they are missed then it causes lots of problems. So after that point I walk up to the bus stop from my work, and I just very much enjoyed the fact having my uniform off to try and relax a little bit, because it's been quite a stressful day and I do love my job and it is very rewarding, but after a busy day you just want to get the uniform off and relax, especially in public because no one's coming up to you and asking you for things all the time. I just grabbed a few things on the way home from the crusade, came home and just tried to relax a little bit, do my housework, and then later on I'll go training in the park, just some cardio, and then maybe weightlifting at the gym because I'm training to be a pro wrestler as well in my spare time. So busy life, but I very much love my job. After that I'd probably try and wind down in the afternoon, watch something on TV, usually watch YouTube or watching some wrestling channels or ICW, WWE, New Japan, that sort of thing. And then I would probably fall asleep some point between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning if I don't have work the next day. And at the moment I would have a late shift tomorrow, so I have no problems falling asleep tonight. You know, I wouldn't have to set an alarm to tell me to go to sleep. I can actually go to sleep whenever I want because I don't have to go back into work until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon I should say, so there's no stress there. For example, you could be doing a late shift, a long day, and then an early shift, so really that whole period you're just working, sleeping, working, sleeping, working. So this is a nice little break. So that's what I'll be doing tonight, falling asleep some point between midnight and 4 o'clock. Thank you very much.
I'm Carl J. Claridge and I'm 48 years old. So, to my day. Up front, I need to say that I'm an actor, so I don't have the standard 9 to 5 kind of day that maybe somebody working in an office might have. But additionally, I have mental health problems, particularly with depression caused by PTSD. So that kind of makes for a rather erratic chronology of my day. But in general, I usually get up at about 4:30. I only need I'm only used to a few hours sleep. And then I will turn on my computer, I'll go into the kitchen and make myself a cup of tea. And then I will check my emails, messages and what have you. Usually then I'll have another cup of tea and start looking at what's going on around the world, look at the news. I have travelled a lot, so I've got friends in lots of different time zones, some to the east and some to the west, which means more or less around the clock there's any number of people I could be talking with in any number of languages. Usually then I will watch a short documentary or a short episode of some program online, and then I will get up and either go for a walk, generally along the beautiful Clyde here in Glasgow, or I will go for a run around Glasgow Green or so. I used to be a marathon runner, so I like to try and keep up with that a little bit, and that's a nice time of the day for it. Then I'll return back home, usually at 7ish or so, I'll do a little bit more online, look at correspondence. I've usually got several projects on the go at the same time, so post-production for this, preparation for that, and quite a bit of my research time is done then as well. I will then get up properly and freshen myself up. But first I'll go into my bedroom and do some exercises. I have some weights and stuff, and I'll usually work out there for about an hour just to keep myself in form, which is particularly important. I'll then freshen myself up and go back to the computer and work on lines for whatever project I'm particularly working on at the time. And following that, I will usually, sometime around 10 o'clock or so, go into town, do some shopping, generally make my way to CEX, so I like films, and then take the scenic route home, all over. I'll get back at about 12 or 1 o'clock, and then I'll usually have a bite to eat. I don't generally eat breakfast, maybe on a Sunday sometimes as a treat. And usually that will be, at that time of the day, a sandwich or something. It's not a main meal. I like cheese and maybe some salami, olives, I love olives. And then I will gradually get ready. I'm currently working on a play in Edinburgh called Conspiracy. So I'll make my way to the bus station, get a mega bus there, and it will, the rehearsals, depending when they start, will either go on to 6 o'clock or about 9 o'clock. So that's quite an intensive rehearsal period, but it's very effective. The current play is about a group of high-ranking Nazi officials coming together in 1942 at Wannsee, and in 90 minutes basically deciding the fate of the Jewish population. Final solution, as they called it. And it's incredibly powerful, and it's a wonderful part and a wonderful group of people. After that, I'll head back on to the bus station and make my way roughly an hour and a half later back to Glasgow. Gradually mosey on home, and then I'll usually make myself something to eat when I get here. Possibly with a bottle of wine. I generally cook a pie or some sort of noodle dish, occasionally Chinese. I like cooking when I do cook. Then I'll sit down and watch a film or something. A couple of hours, then I'll catch up with the last of my emails for that day and prep stuff for the very next day. Talk to some of my other pen pals, and then I will gradually try and settle myself down to watch something relaxing so I can sleep, because of my condition of hypervigilance. It means I tend not to sleep very well. The more you sleep, the more vulnerable you are. So I'm never in too much of a hurry. And I'll watch a film or check some stuff out online until whatever time it is that I start to feel really tired, which is generally around 2-3 o'clock. And then I'll usually fall asleep on the sofa because I'm there. There's more to do in the living room, and because my bed's rather big just for me. So that's pretty much my day.
My name is Bobby McLeish. I'm 33-year-old, and I'm a sports coach and door person, or steward. and I'm going to talk to you about my day-to-day. Roughly wake up about 7:30 when the wife wakes up for her nicotine fix, and it wakes me up in the morning as well, so I'm up about 7:30. Get up in the morning, have my breakfast, which normally consists of porridge, occasionally some eggs, some toast, 2 cups of black coffee with plenty of sugar. If I decide to treat myself, I'll have steak and eggs in the morning if I've got enough time, and obviously jump in a quick shower. By that time the kids are up, dressed, ready for school. We head out the door roughly about 8:30, so I'll drop the kids off first at school, and then I'll drop the wife off at her work roughly about 9ish. Then back home, get any gym gear that I need to get for coming across here to the Licklinock Community Annex, which I essentially run. I'm a sports coach for when the kids come down from the local primary school. Normally the first class is in kind of thing, 10 o'clock is just like a wee boot camp kind of thing, which as you can see was set up for today anyway. So I'll get that out and done with 11 o'clock. I'll stop and have something to eat, a wee protein carb bar kind of thing, or a wee sandwich, plenty of coffee again, and then roughly about 11:30 the kids come down from the local primary school. Their primary school doesn't have a sufficient gym hall, so they hire here, and I help with the coaching for the PE. Last time I was doing badminton with the kids, which is a fantastic sport, gets them active, and then once that's finished they have their lunch down here. Normally consists of sandwiches, fruit, yoghurt, fruit juice, that kind of thing, and we've got a park just behind us. Well, that's a wall obviously, but over that way there's a wee public park that the kids go to after lunch, and I help supervise with the school. There's not enough parent helpers, so I'm PVG registered, so I help with the local school, helps with the community as well, because they can turn to me and ask me for a hand for anything essentially. So they finish about 12:30, 1:45ish. Once they're finished, I'll have my lunch, and it'll normally be a school lunch because the school leave sandwiches and fruit and stuff like here, so some sandwiches, some fruit, some yoghurt kind of thing, more coffee because obviously I run on that stuff, and then I'll set up for the middle-aged boot camp, which is roughly about 1 o'clock. So as you can see, we've set that up. We've got some tyres for hitting with a sledgehammer, battle ropes, mats for push-ups, press-ups, that kind of thing, so some cones roundabout so we can do some suicide runs as well. So that lasts roughly about 40 minutes to an hour. So once that's finished, roughly about 2 o'clock, I'll get everything away, put it all away, lock the doors, and then I'll go across to the local primary school where my daughters attend. My youngest daughter, she's 5, she's in primary 1, and I'll pick her up, put her into the after school club, and then I'll go into the secondary school and coach the secondary kids handball till about 4 o'clock. So for about 3 to 4 o'clock is an hour of handball that I coach. I coached with the Scotland under-18s team down in Largs, so I bring any knowledge I have and teach into the school syllabus, which is good. Once we're finished that, we head up the road, we pick the wife up from work, come back home, and then we decide and argue what we're going to have for dinner, which takes about an hour because you've got 2 kids, 2 adults wanting different meals. I'll pretty much have what's going available kind of thing. If I'll treat myself to a takeaway or a kebab and then regret it immensely later. Once we finish that, like Monday for example, I'll come straight over here again, roughly 6 o'clock, come in, set up for the kids dodgeball club, which is a really forgotten about sport. We have about 25 to 30 kids in there, so every 15 minutes we change the game or style of game, still maintaining its dodgeball. That lasts for about an hour. Once that's finished, that gets put in the cupboard. We bring in the badminton stuff for the adult badminton club that come in. They're in here for about an hour and a half. Once that's finished, about 9:30, everything gets packed away, floor swept and mopped, doors locked. I'm back across the house for about 10 o'clock. By that time the wife's sleeping, so I get to come in and have me time. So I'll come in, put on the PlayStation 4, play Fortnite with my pals for Edinburgh for about 2.5 hours. So that'll take me right through to 12 o'clock, maybe even sometimes 1 in the morning. At that point I'll jump in a very, very quick shower, another cup of coffee as well for some strange reason. then I'll go up to bed, and instead of just going straight to sleep, I'll read a book. Right now I'm reading the Warcraft novels. If I can't get sleep, I'll put the TV on, put on the Fire Stick, watch a film until I'm just about to go to sleep. That'll take me through to about 2:30, 3 in the morning. But unfortunately I've got sleep apnea, so I wake up most of the time during the night on off for about 30 seconds. If I manage to get some sleep, that's me right through to 7:30 the next morning.
Okay, so name is Scott. I'm a business consultant, IT stroke change analyst. That effectively is a role where I work in financial services, insurance firms, legal firms, and it can be in financial services or utilities. It's a project management background where you deliver change, and that change can involve anything from brand new systems, processes, and impacts to organisations. Average day got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I basically showered and changed, and effectively tend to leave the house about 10 to 7. I don't normally have breakfast. I tend to leave about 10 to 7, 5 to 7 around about that time, and head to the local railway station to travel generally into a hub, which is Edinburgh or Glasgow. And from either one of those locations, I tend to travel around the UK, depending on where we are in a particular project and what the need is for that project at that point in time. Over and above that, the train journey takes about roughly anything from 50 minutes to an hour and 15, just depends how good ScotRail is on the day. And effectively, I arrive at my work after a sort of 10-15 minute walk, roughly about anything from 8 to 8:25 in the morning. Okay. First thing I do, grab a coffee, because I've not had any breakfast. So black coffee, that's what I tend to have. I tend not to have breakfast, tend to fast most days, and don't tend to start eating till about lunchtime. First thing I do is get my coffee. Second thing I do is switch the PC on and read the emails from the night before to see what the impact is against the day that I've got planned. So I would already have a anticipated diary for the day. I would review that diary and review any emails that have come in to see how that impacts that diary and what was in plan, and then obviously amend anything accordingly on that basis. That would then take me up to anything from 9 o'clock up to basically 12, 1 o'clock. Lunch hour, we don't have a lunch hour. Effectively you work at your desk, you grab a quick 5-10 minute break, grab a soup and a sandwich and eat at your desk. In between those times you tend to just basically either have meetings, combination of meetings and workshops, and a lot of preparation activity for future events or future meetings that you've got in diary, which include workshops, etc. After lunch, again it's more the same. More meetings, more stakeholder engagement, more reviewing any output, any analysis activity, and you then undertake project management activities. So you have project plans, you have project reporting, you have sort of a lot of internal governance tools to complete and support in terms of where you are in a particular project at a particular point in time. You then also prepare lots of output for senior management and stakeholders, and that can either be both in paper format and also in paper and via presentations at various governance boards, etc. as well, with various levels of management. So that's kind of an average day. The day effectively is very similar a lot of days. It's a mix of chaos, effectively. You work and change, have to be flexible. Chaos kind of reigns in that type of environment. It's how you manage it is the important thing. And really, after sort of 5 o'clock, most days I tend to go to the gym, do a bit of sort of kickboxing, a bit of weights, try and keep sort of healthy at that point with that stress relief as well. I then rush home, pick up my daughter from swimming training because I'm the sole taxi driver for the house, and effectively I do that on a nightly basis because she trains 7 times a week. So kept quite busy. Meal wise, we tend to about 8 o'clock, 8:30, tend to try and grab something as a snack. Either collectively we have one meal between us, same meal, or we have individual meals. It just depends how the days went and whether my wife and my daughter have had their own meals prior to going to training, or whether they've had snacks and we all have the same meal afterwards. Over and above that, it depends what kind of day I've had, depends where I am in the project, depends what type of project and where I am and what organisation I'm working for. I may have to log in at night time and continue my work. which happens quite often. A lot of work has to happen behind the scenes. Don't get paid for it, but it's part of the job. You've got to do it, got to deliver, and that's part and parcel of the being self-employed. So effectively, that can take me up some nights from about, say, half 8, 8:45, 9 o'clock. You could be working through to generally 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's an average night for me, is generally 12:30, 1 o'clock. If I do have some spare time, which pretty good, I tend to chill on the computer and relax and just read technology, read new things, maybe teach myself new programming language or something like that if I've got some spare time. I have been known to do that, doing some web design and things in my spare time, so I build websites and things if I have any spare capacity. Over and above that, why do I do that? Because I can't stand some of the programmes that are being watched in the house, so I tend to use my office as being my base. So things like Love Island and everything else, not my preferential programme of choice. So things like EastEnders, Love Island, all that kind of stuff, nah. So that's kind of average day for me in terms of working in that type of environment, change environment. I think the key word is you have to be flexible, and you have to basically adapt to change, and it's how you adapt to that and manage that.
My name is Tom Moriarty, and I'm 32 years old, and I work as a creative coach and an entrepreneur in Glasgow. And in terms of my day, I suppose I try to wake with the sun, something I've been trying to do for the last couple of years and not doing too well. But roughly now I'm at 8 a.m, so generally every morning is an 8 a.m. rise. In terms of breakfast, I'm not really a breakfast kind of chap. I run on coffee for most of the day, and I eat later in the day, so I can't really expand on that. I sometimes have a smoothie with my business partner when I'm being forced to be healthy, but other than that, it's generally my morning routine is very, very short and very slight in terms of rising, brush the teeth, jump in the shower sometimes if I'm feeling for it. Big pint of water to get the body going. It's huge, it's about this big. And then a coffee. Coffee. I love coffee. Generally have about 4 in a day. So I spend about 45 minutes at home, just considering what's coming forward in the day, because I know that I'll generally have anywhere from 2 to 6 actors per day. And I'd leave the house roughly about 8:45 or 8:30, because generally my first sessions are either 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. and I like to be in here nice and early and get ready. So I walk in, because I live 20 minutes away from my office here in town. And as I'm walking, I'm listening to either TED Talks or I'm listening to meditation music, because I've got very erratic energies and I like to keep them contained and focused on the day that's coming. So when I arrive, I sit here. Well, you wanted all the details, so I turn off my internet and turn it back on, because it's a pain in the arse. And if you leave it too long, it'll just stop working. So I do that. And then I blare a lot of music in the office while I'm checking up on what's coming in the day, because I have a diary that's chock-a-block full of things to do, projects, people to check in with. Generally blaring Metallica and singing really loudly. I think I was doing that when you guys came in. And then the day starts with my first client, which is generally client, not that word, my first actor, at 9 or 10 in the morning. So the morning of my days mirrors the rest of the day, if I'm being honest, in that I work on a one-on-one basis with actors from anywhere between 9 a.m. till 9 or 10 at night, sometimes 7 days a week. And we work on a concept and a methodology that I've created over the last couple of years called branding for actors, which is essentially marketing for actors. That is the core of what I do, I suppose, in a nutshell. And underneath that, it's all about true empowerment for the creative and essentially just making people believe that they can do extraordinary things, because the world don't like when you think that, but we do here. You can be anything. So I will generally do a session or two up until 12 or 1. And then I'll head downstairs, because we have a cafe in the building, which is sick. And I'll grab myself another coffee. I still haven't eaten at this point. Man, if my mom sees this, I'm in trouble. Mocha being my favourite. I love mocha coffees. And I'll head back up here, and around 1 or 2, if I'm not coaching or teaching again, because it drops in and out of that, I will sit down. So for example, sometimes I have to read plays, like I did 2 yesterday. And I'm reading another today, and I'm feeding them back to the writers and to the production crews, both theatre and stage. I do Skype sessions with London actors, which is very exciting for me to sit here in my little office and talk to actors down south. What else do I do? I work on my own theories, because I'm writing 2 books at the moment. One is fantasy based and one is based on acting, so that's what the board is for. And then around 2 or 3 is when and I never realised this actually, it's only coming to 4 now. Around 2 or 3 is when the second group of actors and creatives tend to come in. and they train on a wide range of things. You know, I work on one-on-one sessions, I work on group sessions, I direct recently deaf children, which is quite a challenge. It was very enlightening and touching. And then as we move my day towards 5 or 6 is when I tend to eat. So I don't take breaks for food. I just don't. I don't ascribe to the paradigm of breakfast, lunch, dinner. It just doesn't appeal to me. I actually resent it a little bit. So I will eat when I can. So the breakfast and lunch and dinner thing are kind of alien to me in that I don't have a set routine. My routine generally consists of morning here, lunch of a sort of coffee here, teaching here, and then if the building's closed, which it is sometimes from 5 p.m. onwards, I will take this whole thing back to my flat because I also have a studio room there. Oh, it's busy. And I will teach into the night there as well on branding, on monologue work, on scene work, on audition prep, on agent work, on casting directors. There's no stone left unturned. So I tend to finish about roughly 8. And that's a new thing I've installed recently where I can't work beyond 8. My mind just won't do it. So when 8 o'clock comes is when it's like, right, time to chill, time to settle down. But I tend to end up doing housework. Tend to end up cleaning the dishes or doing a wash of clothes or whatever. Because just as in my day, I'm not too good at settling my mind at night, so I got to keep it busy. As 9 or 10 rolls around, I tend to, no one would guess this, at 9 to 10 I tend to play Rocket League. If any of you know what that is. And it's a game I am absolutely obsessed with. And there's a reason. The reason is that it's a merit-based game, and you can only win with skill. So that means it's all in these guys. And I used to be a magician, so I suppose that's harping back to me using my fingers. Then around 11ish, 11, knock off the Xbox, tidy the sitting room, go into my room and go, I'm going to go to bed, but of course I don't go to sleep till 1 because I end up watching fucking Vines on YouTube. Fall asleep and wake up a couple of times in the night and then repeat in the next morning. So that tends to be my schedule, is I'm here most of the time working with actors. I don't really eat, but I love what I do. I love the people I get to work with, and that is Tamo's routine.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hamilton. I'm 23 years old. And also, if I sound like you can't figure out where I'm from Scotland, but I lived in America for 5 years, so it's a little all over the place. So I guess a typical day in the life of me, it's not really typical because I work as a bartender. So some days I'm up at 8 a.m. in for 9 a.m. and then other days I don't start work until 5 at night. So, but I guess a usual day for me is I get woken up by a primary school across the road at about 9 in the morning when all the kids are screaming and going into school. Sometimes I make it back to sleep, sometimes I don't. And then if I do get back to sleep, I don't wake up until their break time at 10:15. And then when I get up, the first thing I do is feed my cat. I've got a little baby cat. So he gets his breakfast, and then I'll go and get mine, which normally consists of coffee, of course. And I really like to make breakfast burritos. So my idea of a breakfast burrito is I have my wrap, I've got ketchup and mayonnaise, mix that together, put it all over the bottom. Half an avocado cut up into squares, lay that out, 2 strips of bacon, fried egg, cheese, and wrap it all up. Get a little bit of everything. It's pretty good. And then I guess if I'm starting work later in the day, so if I'm on a night shift, say I start at 5, I'll just kind of chill out for the morning, maybe watch Netflix, might go to the gym, depending on how I'm feeling. On Netflix, I'll normally watch a TV series. Like I just finished watching Riverdale. I'm all about the Netflix originals right now. Watch that for a few hours, have lunch, which changes day to day. I normally try and have something a bit more filling because I'm going to work. So whether that's pasta or like a sandwich or something that'll just fill me up. And then I get a train to work. There's a train station 5 minutes from where I live. So I just walk along there, get on the train. It's a 5-minute journey, gets me into work like 10 minutes before I start my shift. Just when I get to work, say hi to everyone, normally make myself a tea or a coffee or something just to get me through the day. And then I start working as a bartender, where I mean I'm pretty much the same as any bartender. It's not like a cocktail fancy place or anything, so I'm just pouring pints, making mixed drinks, stuff like that. We do have cocktails, but they're like filled with sugar. They're just like wicked lemonade crap. And then if I'm working the close, so say I'm working 5 to close, that'll be 11 on weekdays, midnight at weekends. And then if I'm working the close, you obviously have to close down the bar, so that involves getting all the customers out of the bar, closing the doors, wiping down the bar, taking all the taps off, making sure all the glasses are clean and ready to go out the next day. All the tables are wiped down and ready. And then if I'm normally finishing that late, there's obviously not any trains running, so my mode of transport normally back home at that time of night is to get an Uber. Just because after working, standing on your feet for 6-7 hours, normally longer, you just don't want to walk like 20-30 minutes home. So I'll get an Uber, cost me like £4, not normally that much. Get home, I'll normally end up having something to eat just because I'm not going to go to sleep right away because I'm too awake just from finishing work. So I'll either make myself a snack, like a sandwich or something. I'll get a bag of crisps, cookies, whatever I have that I want to eat, I'll eat it. And then if I'm working until midnight, it's normally like 1:30, 2 in the morning before I'm asleep. And then again, I'll still get woken up at like 9. So kind of just depends on if it's a weekday or a weekend, what time I get to sleep until.
Hi there, my name is David Rennie. I'm 57. I work as an HGV driver for a parcel company, taking parcels down south, night shift every night. My day normally starts when I get up in the morning, which is a bit different from everybody else because I work night shift, which is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll normally have a shower. My wife comes home at lunchtime, so I'm normally up and get a shower and sort her lunch, which is usually try to be healthy, which is usually oat cakes or fruit and yogurt or something like that. Just something light because I start quite early in the evening, so we don't want to have a big lunch. So we'll normally sit out the back, or if it's bad weather, we'll sit and watch the news or something on the television or for half an hour or so till she goes back to work. And then I've normally got some chores to do, so I'll do some housework or something, or go to the shops or whatever. And then my wife finishes at 3 o'clock, so if we're still to do some stuff, we'll still get time to go and do some stuff in the afternoons. If it's just even a walk or stuff like that. And then we'll sort dinner, which is usually about 4:30, 5 o'clock, which is quite early from what we used to do. But I start at 6:30 in the evening, so we'll normally have that done for 4:30, 5, and then I'll get ready for work. We'll sometimes watch a bit of TV right enough before I head to work. A bit of rubbish on the television, so but I'll get ready for work about 5:45, and head out just after 6. I work locally, so it's only 10 minutes to work. So I'll get in about 6:20. I'll go and log on to the computer, which will be my start time at night. There's usually a couple of girls in the office, so I'll speak to them. Then I'll go out and do my vehicle checks, do all the check around the vehicle, just make sure everything's roadworthy. There's usually a couple of guys start after me, so I'll go and I'll check their vehicles as well, just to make sure there's no punctures or anything like that on them, so if there is, it'll be fixed before they come into work, so they start a bit later than me, so I'm usually first. Once I've done all that, I'll go and get a coffee. I usually get a coffee for one of the guys in the warehouse, so I'll take that into him, and because he's still loading the trailer at night, because all the vans will pick all the parcels up during the day and it'll come back to the depot and get loaded onto the trailer for heading down south. So we'll just stand and have a coffee while he finishes loading the trailer, which is usually done for about 6:45, 7 o'clock. That's my time for heading. So once that's done, he'll seal the trailer up and I'll go and get my paperwork, get out to the truck, get things started, pull it off the bay, make sure everything's fine, stick a padlock on the back, and then that's me. Hit the road, usually about 7 o'clock. It's 3.5 hours down to just outside Preston where the main sortation hub is. So it'll take 3.5 to 4 hours depending on traffic. Sometimes there's road closures or diversions and things, so obviously music's a big part of things because that gets you through the night. You're listening to, I'll normally just listen to the radio on the way down. I'll stop at Southwaite normally for fuel, which takes about 10 minutes. Sometimes the other guys from other depots are in at the same time, so you see them. And, once we've done that, we'll carry on again. It usually takes about another hour and 40 minutes to get there to the depot. Because the trailer doesn't fit, it's a bigger trailer than normal, so it doesn't fit through the gate, so I've normally got to meet my changeover, because the trailer I take goes straight down to Birmingham. There's not enough driving time to go straight down, so there's normally somebody there to meet you. I'll unhook the trailer, and he'll then hook up to the trailer. We'll help each other do that, and then a quick check around, make sure everything's okay. Then we'll discuss what maybe the journey's been down and what's maybe going to be shut further down south. So he'll do that, and then he'll go on his way. And then that's me. That's my 3.5 hours down there, and I've now got maybe 2.5 to 3 hours before my freight's ready to come back up. So I'll normally go for a wee sleep for an hour or so. There's a bunk in the truck, so you can get into that, and I'll go for a sleep for an hour or so, and then once I've done that, I'll set my alarm. I'll go and meet one of the other guys because I've got to swap trucks to, there's a different truck I bring back up. So I'll go and meet him in the yard. We'll change over, we'll just discuss what we've been doing during the day, or things like that, with what we're doing at the weekend and things, but we'll change over the stuff over, and then I'll go in the office, see the guys in the office, see if there's anything different happening, and I'll go and sort myself a coffee, and then I've got a flask which I'll go and fill up, sort myself a drink for the way the road back up. So we normally leave again at 2 in the morning if everything's went okay, if everyone's running to schedule. The guys are normally sorted all the parcels, everything's loaded onto the trailers again, the stuff that's to come back up to Scotland. So I'll then go and hook up to the truck that I'm bringing back up, do all our checks, make sure everything's okay, get our paperwork, and then we'll head out the gate. The security guy will go around and check everything, make sure your seals are the correct seals, and you're taking the correct trailer out. And then that's me heading back up the road again. That's normally about 2 o'clock, maybe 1:30 if things are running a bit over time. So it's the same again, 3.5 hours back up to the local depot. Normally during the night I'll listen to different things. Sometimes I'll listen to podcasts or different types of music. So it gives you a good chance to listen to even certain albums or different genres of music, which I'll listen to anything really, anything that's new or obviously I was born in the 80s, well I grew up in the 80s, so it's a kind of big part of what I listen to, but I'm open to anything, so it gives you a good chance to listen to a lot of stuff on the way up the road. Not a lot happens most of the time. Sometimes you'll come across accidents or road closures, so that can make things a bit interesting at night. Running through wee villages and things like that, so that can slow you down at night, but on the whole it's pretty straightforward. So I'll get back into the depot about 6:30ish in the morning. I'll reverse it onto the bay. The guys will open the back up and start unloading the trailer. Meanwhile I'll do all my checks as well, make sure everything's still okay with the truck. Then I'll go in, I'll speak to the manager, make sure everything's okay, and I'll finish doing my paperwork. Usually takes about half an hour, then I'll log off, head up the road, which is 10 minutes up the road. So that's when really I have my breakfast then, I suppose. I'll go in, I'll get a bowl of porridge. The wife's just usually wakened up, so we'll have porridge together between kind of 7 and 8 o'clock, and then I'll get to my bed, and then that's me until 1 in the afternoon again, and that's my typical day.
Very happy. I'm very fortunate. The job that I do I really enjoy, and I have a good lifestyle.
Yeah. Ish. Yeah, I've got anxiety and depression, so I'm on like medication and stuff, but I'm off for 2 weeks just now, so just it was holidays anyway, but I'm just hopefully by the time I get back to work I'll be over.
Oh boy. I am. I mean, it is sometimes a little. I do feel like under the weather quite a lot, and I just tend to think and just. Well, yeah, I just tend to think, and sometimes if something bothers me, that'll kind of linger on in my mind, and it'll get me in a bad mood. And it'll be hard to shake off for maybe a day or two, but for the most part, in my current state overall, I would say that I'm relatively happy. Yeah.
Yeah, at this moment in time, yes. I'm actually over the hill heading towards retirement, so I can see a positive goal to aim for in about 5 years' time.
Yeah, I'm quite happy, but it's more like I'm quite happy kind of just doing what I'm doing, but I kind of enjoy more trying new things, so I don't really like being stagnant in kind of one thing, if that made any sense.
I am happy, yes.
Oh, I'm delighted with my life just now.
Yes.
Yeah, really happy.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Yes, I would say I am happy.
Direi di sì, non la felicità di un giovane, ma sì, io mi considero una persona fortunata, contenta, sufficientemente sana e soprattutto con delle persone a cui voler bene e che mi vogliono bene.
Sometimes I'm happy, and there's other times where I'm probably not happy. I'm someone that doesn't always find a middle ground very easily, so I'd say that's a 50-50 split. But there are some things in life which are really, really good, and I appreciate them, and there are other things which are not perfect, and sometimes I find it they have a more frustrating effect. So I would say sometimes and sometimes not.
Yes.
I'm happy, yes. I've never been so happy in my life because I've just lost my job. Well, I was made redundant, and I'm 60 years of age. I was getting fed up working, and I was given the opportunity to stop working, and I've taken it on board with both hands, and I've got to admit, I wish I'd done it 5 years ago. I enjoyed what I'd done. I loved my job. I loved the guys I worked with, and I loved the money. But I'm at that stage of life that I'm delighted that they've came to me and asked me did I want redundancy. They've given me some money, and I'm going to take my pension earlier. So I'm delighted that that's happened. So yes, I am happy, and I couldn't be happier living with that lady.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm 21 and I've really got nobody, so I've got a girlfriend, got good mates. Work's alright, but people in work make it better, so I can't really complain.
Yes, very happy. Within my job, yes, and at home, happy.
Yeah.
It's tricky to say. Albert Schweitzer said that happiness is being healthy and having a bad memory. So I guess I'm kind of halfway there. But I'm working on it.
I'm happy. Happiness is one of these things that can branch off into different things. Am I happy in what I'm doing? Very. Am I mentally happy? God, no. I'm happy with what I'm doing in here. I'm happy with my family. I'm happy with the things I can do for other people. Am I mentally happy? No. But as I said, happiness can branch off into many different roads. So it all depends on what road I'm walking down that day.
So if you ask me on a number of levels, am I happy in life? I'm pretty lucky, yeah. Got my health, that's the main thing. Got my family, that's another positive, which is great. And without those two things, you don't have much. Money, material things, really don't matter. The important thing is to have people around you in your health. That's the key main things. So for me, if you're asking a question like that, that's one layer to that question. If I'm happy personally, I think the type of work that I do and the type of environment and the type of person I am, I think my job's, it's not what I wanted to do when I left uni, but I kind of fell into it, and I think I kind of fell into it for the right reasons. I think my background, my skill set, I think complements it. And sometimes in life things happen for a reason, and what you anticipate doing and not doing, it has a way of falling into shape. You may not understand it at the time, but it does happen. And I didn't anticipate doing the job that I'm doing, but I'm not arrogant in any way. I seem to be quite good at it. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I'm only as good as the last piece of work that I do. So I have to be level-headed. I have to be basically focused and driven, and always improve. There's always room for improvement. So for me, yeah, personal level happy. Life-wise, yeah, I'm more than happy. So is there things that I could do differently? Is there things that I'd like to do? Of course there is. I think everyone could answer that. You know, I'd like to travel more. I'd like to spend more time. I'd like to retire early, all that kind of stuff. But these things will fall into shape. They'll find their own course in life eventually. So.
It's a tough question. And I would say that right now, yes I am, because I have worked to free myself of the negative impacts in my life and cut away the things that don't add to my life. So yes, right now I'm in a very happy place. Yeah, it's awesome. I love my life.
Yes. I really enjoy my job. I enjoy where I'm at right now. Like I'm working towards getting further in bartending, like moving up doing that, which I never thought I'd do. I kind of thought I would just always just be the stereotypical actor bartending, but I really enjoy it. Like I want to progress further where I'm working. I enjoy the path I'm taking to get at more acting work. Like I'm not freaking out that like I'm not doing it now. Like I'm happy with where I'm at, what I'm doing. I'm just trusting everything's gonna happen. So I'm happy.
Yes, I'm happy, yeah. I enjoy my job, so yeah, I'm happy.